The edge of the Milky Way was burning. Flames rose from broken ships. Smoke covered the stars. Screams echoed across the rocky battlefield. The ground shook under every explosion. The United Galactic Forces, made up of the galaxy's strongest alien warriors, were fighting to stop the invasion of a terrible enemy, the Krell swarm. The Krell were not like normal enemies. They didn't talk. They didn't feel. They came like a black storm, millions of them, devouring everything in their path. Planet after planet had already fallen. Now this last rocky moon stood in their way. In the middle of this chaos stood a man, not tall, not glowing, not covered in metal armor like the others, just a human. His name was Captain Jonah Rice. He was the only human in the entire unit. The aliens didn't understand him. He was small compared to them. His skin didn't shine. His weapons were old-fashioned. And yet, he was their best soldier. They didn't say it aloud, but they all knew. Jonah had earned their respect in silence. He didn't speak much. He didn't complain. He just fought. And he always stood back up. That day, the battle was worse than ever. The Krell came from every side, crawling on walls, flying in the air, drilling up from the ground. Their screeches made some soldiers cover their ears. Others ran in fear. But Jonah didn't move. He stood at the front line, shooting with perfect aim. "Hold the line," he shouted, reloading his rifle. "Don't let them pass." Beside him, giant lizard-like aliens roared. Flying warriors with wings spread wide dropped bombs from the sky. Laser shots flew in every direction. The moon became a storm of fire and blood. Then it happened. A Krell drone shot a beam directly at Jonah. The blast hit his arm, clean and sharp. For 1 second, there was silence. Then, blood. Jonah's right arm, gone. He dropped to his knees. Blood poured like water from a broken pipe. His rifle fell from his hand. All around him, time seemed to stop. Even the Tarkmol, a four-eyed alien warrior known for eating his enemies, froze in shock. The Vorlayans, proud bird-like fighters who feared nothing, stepped back in horror. To lose a limb in battle was rare, but to keep fighting after losing it, no species did that. Except one. Jonah looked at his shoulder. The skin was burned, the flesh torn, blood soaking his armor, but his eyes stayed calm. No fear, no scream, no tears. He turned to the nearest medic, a small insectoid named Riza. "Seal the wound," Jonah said, voice steady. Riza's hands shook. "See, Captain, your arm, it's gone." "Seal it," Jonah repeated. "Then hand me my rifle." Riza obeyed, still trembling. She sprayed a foam that stopped the bleeding. Jonah didn't flinch. Then she picked up the rifle and gave it back to him. Jonah used his left hand now. It was slower, but still strong. He stood up, covered in blood, face pale, but still standing. The alien stared at him in silence. He should be dead," whispered a soldier. Jonah looked around. "We're not done yet." And with that he walked forward, toward the next wave of Krell. The warriors behind him felt something strange. Fear, yes, but also something else, something they hadn't felt in a long time. Respect. They followed him, not because of orders, not because of rank, but because they had just seen something impossible. A creature lose a limb and still keep fighting. The battle raged on. Jonah fired shot after shot. His left hand bled from the pressure of the rifle. His vision blurred, but he never stopped. A giant Krell leaped toward him. Jonah dropped to one knee and shot it in the eye. It fell, screeching. Another Krell tackled him from the side. Jonah rolled, stabbed it with a blade he had hidden in his boot, and pushed forward. Alien warriors around him started to fight harder. They screamed his name in their own languages. They formed tighter lines. They didn't fall back anymore. Later, when the battle ended and the smoke cleared, The Krell were gone. For now. Bodies covered the field. Flames still burned. But in the middle of it all, Jonah stood, arm gone, armor cracked, face silent. One young alien, barely out of training, whispered, "What kind of being is he?" General Krax, the commander of the unit, didn't answer right away. He watched Jonah pick up a fallen soldier and carry him toward the medbay. Finally, Krax said, "He is human." And today, we all saw what that means. The stars were silent. The Krell fleet, once so massive, was now broken. Pieces of their mothership floated through space, burning and lifeless. Inside the moon base, every screen showed the same image: victory. But there was no cheering yet, no joy, because Jonah Reyes was still missing. General Krax stood at the command center. His voice cracked as he said, "We lost contact after the explosion. The team escaped, but Jonah, he stayed behind." Soma-Re, bruised and bleeding, whispered, "He saved us." Tarkmol slammed his fist. "He saved all of us." Riza didn't speak. She just held Jonah's broken helmet, found drifting in the wreckage. Across the galaxy, the news spread fast. The human who lost an arm, who fought with only one hand. The man who walked through fire, pain, and fear. He had stopped the Krell. Worlds that once mocked Earth now stood in silence. On giant space stations, his name echoed through halls. In alien temples, his story was written into crystal walls. In military schools, recruits studied the Reyes strategy. But most of all, on Earth, people cried. Because their son had given everything. Weeks passed. The silent unit was honored on 1,000 worlds. Statues were built. Medals were given. But for those who knew Jonah personally, it didn't feel right. He wouldn't want statues, Vux said quietly. Riza nodded. He'd want peace. Then, one day, something strange happened. A signal was picked up from deep space. It was weak, broken, but real. Krax rushed to the controls. He pressed the button. And through the static, they heard it. "Still breathing. Need pickup. It's cold out here." It was Jonah. Alive. The base exploded with joy. Cheers, screams, laughter, tears. Riza fell to her knees, crying. Tarkmol roared like a warrior. Soma-Re smiled brighter than the sun. Within hours, a rescue team found him. He was floating in an escape pod, barely alive, one arm still missing, suit torn and frozen. But he was alive. And when they opened the hatch, Jonah smiled and said, "Told you I'd be back." They'd brought him home. Not just to Earth, but to every world that now saw humanity in a new light. Jonah didn't want to be called a hero. But people needed heroes. And Jonah became something bigger. A symbol of hope, of strength, of unity, and of one truth that echoed across the stars. You can take a human's arm, but you'll never take their will. In the years that followed, peace grew stronger. The Krell vanished into the dark, afraid to face such spirit again. And in schools, children told the story of the one-armed man who stared into the heart of the enemy and smiled. His name was Jonah Reyes, but the galaxy simply called him the Unbroken. The battle was over, but the fear still remained. Smoke rose into the dark sky. Broken ships and burned bodies covered the ground. The United Galactic Forces had won this round, but the Krell swarm would return. Everyone knew that. Inside a rocky cave, deep beneath the surface of the moon, the remaining soldiers gathered. Some were injured. Some were silent. All were tired. And in the middle of them sat Captain Jonah Reyes, his right arm now gone, a thick bandage wrapped tightly around the wound. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just stared at the fire in front of him, sharpening a knife with his left hand. The other soldiers kept their distance. They had fought beside him. They had seen the moment his arm was torn away. They had seen him stand up with blood pouring and fight like nothing had happened. And now, they didn't know what to think. General Krax, the leader of the unit, stood near the cave wall. His green skin was burned. His eyes were hard. Beside him stood 3 senior alien officers, each from a different world. They were whispering, nervous, uncertain. "He should not be fighting," said Commander Vux, a tall alien with glowing red eyes. "No one survives that kind of injury in battle. It's unnatural." "He needs rest," said Somari, a feathered warrior. "Maybe return him to Earth." General Krax looked at Jonah again. "Did he ask for rest?" "No," Vux said. "He didn't." "Then why are we afraid?" Krax asked quietly. "Is it because he didn't stop? Because he didn't fall like the others would have?" Somari shifted uncomfortably. "He's just one human. But I've heard stories." The room went quiet. "Stories?" Vux asked. Somari nodded. "Back before Earth joined the Alliance, there were rumors, tales of humans in their own wars, of battles where they kept fighting even after losing limbs, eyes, even after losing hope. I didn't believe them. Until now." Krax's eyes narrowed. "Maybe we've misunderstood their kind." Meanwhile, on the other side of the cave, a small alien medic named Riza sat beside Jonah. She was the one who sealed his wound. She spoke gently. "Why didn't you stop, Captain? You were bleeding. You should have passed out." Jonah didn't look at her. He kept sharpening his knife slowly. "I've seen worse," he said simply. Riza blinked. "Worse than losing your arm?" Jonah nodded. "Back on Earth, my brother stepped on a mine. Lost both legs. Still walked again. With metal ones. No one cried for him. We just helped him stand." Riza stared. "You're kind. You don't give up." Jonah finally looked at her. "We can't afford to. Giving up means dying, and Earth has died too many times to quit now." Outside the cave, the sensors beeped. Krell scouts were nearby. Not attacking, just watching. Spying. Studying. General Krax looked at the signal. "They're learning. Watching us. Preparing for the next strike." Somari frowned. "If they saw what Jonah did today, they'll be more dangerous next time." "Or more afraid," Krax replied. Later that night, Jonah stood at the edge of the cave. He looked at the stars with his one remaining hand resting on his belt. General Krax walked over and stood beside him. "You should be resting," Krax said. Jonah shrugged. "Can't sleep when they're still out there." Krax looked at him closely. "Why didn't you scream, Reyes, when it happened?" Jonah took a breath. "Because if I screamed, someone else might have run. If I fell, others might have followed. That's not something I could allow." Krax was silent for a moment. "We've all trained for centuries," he said. "We've studied war, built perfect armies, but none of our warriors fight like you." "Maybe that's the problem," Jonah said. "Maybe war isn't supposed to be perfect." He turned and walked back into the cave. Krax watched him go, then said softly to himself, "Maybe this is why they call humans the last fighters." Inside the cave, as the soldiers prepared for the next battle, whispers began to spread. He didn't even scream. He fought with one arm. He stood when others fell. The legend of the human had begun to grow. But outside, hidden in the shadows, a Krell drone hovered near the rocks, recording every word, every movement. Deep in the hive of the Krell, a voice hissed in the darkness. "Find more of them. These, humans, we must understand them, before they destroy us all." The sky cracked open. It was the largest Krell fleet anyone had ever seen. Thousands of ships, black, sharp, and endless. They surrounded the edge of the moon like a wall of death. Inside the base, alarms screamed louder than ever before. General Krax slammed his fist on the table. "This is it. They're going to destroy everything." Jonah Reyes stood beside him, calm and ready. Then we make our last stand count. The silent unit gathered in the center of the base. Some soldiers whispered prayers. Others cleaned their weapons with shaking hands. But when Jonah entered the room, everyone turned to him. He still had only one arm. He still wore the same damaged armor. But in their eyes, he looked like a giant. "Listen up," Jonah said. His voice was firm. "We all knew this day might come." He looked at Tarkmol, Riza, Somari, Vux. Each one had fought beside him, blood beside him. "This isn't just about one moon," he continued. "This is about everything the Krell fear: hope, unity, and the will to stand when no one else will." He pointed to the sky. "They want us gone. They want our stories erased. So, let's give them a story they'll never forget." The plan was simple but deadly. Jonah would lead a small strike team into the heart of the Krell mothership. It was risky, almost a suicide mission. But if they could destroy the ship's core, the entire fleet would fall apart. Meanwhile, the rest of the base would hold the line as long as they could. "Buy us time," Jonah told Krax. "Just hold them back." Krax nodded. "We'll hold." As the Krell ships began to land, the battlefield turned into a storm. Explosions lit up the sky. Laser fire rained down like fire from the gods. The ground shook with every step of Krell war machines. And through that chaos, a small ship blasted into space, heading straight for the mothership. Inside, Jonah sat at the front, eyes locked forward. Riza flew the ship. "We won't have long." Tarkmol loaded his blaster. "Then let's make it loud." Somari checked the bomb they had stolen from the Krell themselves. "It's enough to tear their heart out." Jonah just nodded. "Then we aim for the heart." Back on the moon, General Krax led the defense. Krell troops swarmed the outer walls. Alien warriors from every species stood side by side, firing into the endless wave. "Hold the line," Krax roared. "For Earth, for the stars, for Jonah." The base shook, but they did not fall. Not yet. Meanwhile, the small strike ship dodged enemy fire. It flew through the thickest part of the Krell fleet, its engines screaming. Finally, they reached the mothership. The ship landed hard, crashing through the enemy hangar. Doors flew open. Jonah leaped out first, gun blazing. Riza and Tarkmol followed, clearing the path. Inside the ship, the Krell were waiting. They hissed and screamed, claws raised. But the team kept moving forward, toward the core. They fought through black corridors. The walls pulsed like veins. The air felt thick, almost alive. "They built this place like a living creature," Somari whispered. Jonah gritted his teeth. "Then we're going to stop its heart." At last, they reached the chamber. The core glowed red, pulsing like a beating heart. Dozens of Krell stood in their way. Jonah raised his gun. No turning back. The fight was brutal. Tarkmol took a claw to the leg but kept swinging. Riza moved like lightning, cutting down enemies with precision. Jonah fought with fire in his eyes. Every shot perfect. Every move filled with fury. Finally, Somari planted the bomb near the core. 60 seconds, she said. "We need to leave now." But as they turned to run, a massive Krell general stepped out of the shadows, twice as tall, covered in armor. It slammed Jonah to the ground. The others fired, but the beast wouldn't fall. Jonah looked up, blood on his face. And then, he smiled. He pulled a small grenade from his belt. "Get out," he told them. "Now." "Jonah," Riza shouted. "Go." With tears in their eyes, the team ran. Behind them, Jonah stood up, face to face with the monster. "This is for Earth," he whispered. He threw the grenade at the beast, and it exploded just as the core bomb went off. The entire mothership shook, and then, boom. The explosion lit up the sky. From the moon's surface, everyone saw it. The Krell mothership was gone, and the rest of the fleet. They began to fall. Beside him, Malik and the team. now healed, now armed, watched the fleet appear like a wave of death. "That's their full force," Vega said, stunned. "They sent everything." Hale didn't look away. "Good." The Earth Defense Council begged him to return. "Come home," they said. "We'll surrender if we have to." But Hale only asked one question. "Are we going to live like slaves, or stand like giants?" The answer came in silence, but it was clear. Earth would not kneel. Not anymore. The Grauks fired the first shot, a red beam of energy aimed at New York. It never reached. Hale's ship intercepted, its shields flaring white-hot, holding the beam in place like frozen fire. Then Hale whispered one word: "Run," and everything changed. The Ark unit split into 7. Each ship, fully armed, fully alive, controlled by Hale's neural command. They moved faster than thought, vanishing and reappearing in bursts of blue light. The Grauks tried to target them, but their systems glitched, radar scrambled, weapons locked up. Hale had uploaded a virus through their own signal. Their fleet was blind. Then the real attack began. Hale launched the Judgment Spears, 10 rods of compressed energy, fired straight through space. Each one struck a ship core. Each one caused an explosion so bright, Earth's people thought it was a sunrise. From orbit, Malik watched in awe. "He's turning their fleet into dust." Song leaned forward. "This isn't war. This is a message," Connor added. "You come for one of us. You answer to all of us." The Grauks tried to regroup. They launched pods, swarms of fighters. But Hale called out to the Ark. A new chamber opened. Inside, a single silver orb floated. Hale touched it. It vanished. Seconds later, an entire section of the Grauks fleet exploded, as if a hole had opened in space itself. No noise, no fire, just gone. Commander Sorvak's voice returned, but now it trembled. "Who are you? What have you become?" Hale answered calmly. "I'm just a man. But I'm not alone." Then Earth's ships launched. Thousands of them. Civilian pilots, farmers, miners, retired soldiers, all wearing one symbol, a broken chain. They followed Hale into battle, not with fear, but with fire in their hearts. Humanity had remembered who they were. Not the weak, not the scared, but the ones who never gave up. The battle raged for hours. But slowly, piece by piece, the Grauks fleet fell apart. Some tried to run. Hale let them, for now. Others begged for mercy. Earth gave it, because they were still human. But Sorvak, he didn't escape. Hale found him hiding behind the last command ship. Their video feed connected. Sorvak looked tired, broken. "You're no longer human," he whispered. Hale leaned forward. "No," he said. "I'm what happens when you forget we were." Then the screen went black. The last Grauk ship vanished in fire. And for the first time in human history, Earth stood undefeated, by choice. In the days that followed, the galaxy watched in silence. Other empires withdrew from human space. Treaties were offered. Warnings were whispered. But Hale and his team didn't rest. They traveled. They freed colonies. They hunted those who had hunted them. Not to rule, not to conquer, but to protect the right to be free. One reporter asked Malik months later, what made Hale so dangerous? Malik smiled and said, he wasn't just one man. He was every human who ever stood back up. And so, the galaxy would never forget the day they tried to break a human. And saw what came next. Not surrender, not silence, but a single word, spoken by one man. Run. Days passed since the battle. The Krell had pulled back, but everyone knew it was only temporary. They never gave up. They always returned, stronger, smarter, deadlier. But something had changed, not just on the battlefield. In the hearts of the soldiers, Inside the underground base, the wounded were healing, weapons were being repaired, and warriors trained harder than before. But more than that, they were whispering about one man, Captain Jonah Reyes. His name was now spoken in over 10 different alien languages. His story spread like fire through the ranks. The human who lost his arm and kept fighting. The soldier who didn't scream. The warrior who made the bravest species in the galaxy feel small. Even those who had doubted him before now watched him with quiet respect. In the training hall, 2 young alien recruits practiced their aim. One missed his shot. "Don't drop your weapon," the other whispered. Captain Reyes would never drop his. In the mess hall, a group of soldiers argued about Earth. "I heard they have warriors who fight with metal arms." "No, I heard they train in frozen mountains just to learn pain. They don't even cry when bones break." No one knew the full truth, but that didn't matter anymore, because a legend was being born. Jonah, however, didn't care about the stories. He stayed silent, trained with one arm, and worked harder than ever. Every morning, he strapped on his gear, grabbed his rifle with his left hand, and helped build new defenses. No rank, no orders, just work. Simple, quiet, steady. He didn't look like a hero, but that made him even more dangerous. One night, while checking the outer perimeter, Jonah heard footsteps behind him. It was Tark Mol, the 4-eyed warrior who had once mocked humans. He stood tall, armored in thick silver plates, but now he looked uneasy. "Human," Tark Mol said. I came to speak." Jonah didn't turn around. "Then speak." Tark Mol cleared his throat. "I told stories once, laughed at your kind, said humans were soft, weak, full of emotion." Jonah remained quiet. Tark Mol lowered his head. "I was wrong." Jonah finally looked at him. "And?" Tark Mol nodded slowly. "I want to train with you." Jonah raised one eyebrow. "Why?" "Because I saw fear in my own heart," Tark Mol admitted. "When you lost your arm and stood back up, I realized I had never truly been tested. But you fight like pain is nothing." Jonah gave a small smile. "Pain is just a message. You don't have to listen to it." Word spread fast. Tark Mol trained with Jonah. Then others joined. Within a week, Jonah was leading a group of aliens from 10 different species. They called it the Silent Unit, a small team that trained without shouting, without rest, without fear. They pushed their bodies beyond limits. They crawled across sharp rocks, fought in burning heat, practiced with one arm tied. Some even trained blindfolded. "To fight like humans," they said. It was no longer just about strength. It was about will. General Krax watched from the command room, arms crossed. Beside him stood Somari and Vux, both looking amazed. "They've changed," Somari whispered. "Because of him," Vux added. Krax nodded. "This is not training. It's transformation." But far away, deep inside the Krell hive, something else was happening. Dozens of Krell drones floated around a large black chamber. Their leader, an enormous creature with glowing red veins, watched the recordings taken during the last battle. It showed Jonah, bleeding and fighting. Screaming soldiers, shaking medics, silent alien warriors watching him rise again. The Krell leader hissed. "One human changed everything. We were not prepared." Another Krell drone beeped. "What do we do now?" The Krell leader stared at the image of Jonah frozen on the screen. "We adapt. We evolve. And next time, we tear the human apart slowly, so they all lose hope." Back on the rocky moon, Jonah stood alone, staring at the stars with his one hand on his belt. He didn't know what was coming, but he felt it, and he was ready. Because now, he wasn't just a soldier. He was a symbol. And the galaxy was watching. Reyes and Malik handled explosives. And Vega, she went right into the enemy line. It was chaos. Fire, screams, smoke. But the humans didn't flinch. Every step forward was earned in blood. Every shot mattered. Every life saved gave them more reason to fight. Even when Connor was hit in the chest and dropped to one knee. Even when Malik got pinned behind a broken door. Even when Vega bled from a dozen cuts. They didn't stop. They reached the launch bay. One transport ship. It was old, weak, barely flying. But it was hope. The prisoners boarded quickly. Then came the problem. Too much weight. If all 6 humans stayed on board, the ship would crash before reaching orbit. Someone had to stay behind. Malik looked at Hale. You gonna say it? Hale shook his head. No speeches. We knew this day might come. Reyes smiled. Let's just flip a coin. Song raised her sniper rifle. I'll cover you. But then Hale stepped off the ship. You all go. No way, Vega snapped. We go together. Negative, Hale growled. This isn't about us. The others hesitated. Then slowly, one by one, they nodded. The door closed. The ship took off, fire behind it, leaving Sergeant Hale standing in the launch bay with a blade and a pistol. Thousands of Gralk soldiers were on their way. He didn't run. He just whispered, come on then. The last camera feed Earth received showed Hale diving into a wall of enemies, fighting like a demon, one arm missing, teeth clenched. They never heard from him again. But the ship made it. The prisoners were safe. And the 5 humans. They didn't cry. They didn't speak. They just stared into the stars, knowing one of their own had stayed behind. Not for glory, not for medals, but because that's what humans do. Sergeant Hale was gone. At least, that's what Earth believed. The Oblivion Maw prison ship exploded minutes after the human prisoners escaped. Fire swallowed its engines. The hull cracked in 2. No signal. No heartbeat. No chance. Earth marked him as missing. Presumed dead. But Hale wasn't dead. He had been found. Aboard a silent alien station, orbiting the black star, Harnex 9. Hale opened his eyes. White light above him. Strange symbols on walls. The scent of clean metal. He tried to move, but couldn't. His left side was numb. His right arm was gone. Then came the voice. Soft. Calm. Not human. You survived the Maw. Impressive. Hale turned his head. A tall alien stood there. Long silver robes. Glowing eyes. No mouth. Its voice echoed directly into his mind. I am Reth, one of the Kidari. Hale had heard of the Kidari. Whispers in deep space. Myths told by drunk pilots. Beings who lived beyond known space, watching from shadows. They never interfered. Until now. You saved hundreds, Reth said. Not your own kind, but aliens, some from species that once attacked your world. Hale stayed silent. Reth continued. Why? Hale's voice was dry, weak, but clear. Because they were alive. Reth tilted its head. Even when you knew you'd die. Hale gave a small smile. Dying's easy. Living with cowardice, that's harder. For 3 days, Hale drifted between sleep and pain. The Kidari healed what they could. They gave him food, water, and a place to rest. But they didn't just fix his body. They were studying him. Every scar, every memory, every choice. To them, humans were still new, unpredictable. But Hale was something else. He was not just a soldier. He was a symbol. On the 4th day, Reth returned with an offer. You have lost your arm, your strength, your position, but we can give it all back, and more. What's the catch? Hale asked. No catch, Reth replied. Only truth. The Kidari showed him a chamber, filled with ancient machines, light flowing like liquid. We created this technology long ago, but no mind was strong enough to handle it. Until you.